If we go, AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Wow, what a time, what a time, what a time. But we're not going to let these tech issues get us. Okay, I'm hearing some background, but we're going to work that out. Everybody, I am Santita Jackson. This is the Santita Jackson Show, the second hour. We are on the cusp of the debate. Do you have your popcorn? Are you going to have a watch party? I don't know. I don't know, but I tell you what we need to do. We need to know what to look out for. Because watching these debates, when you go to college, you see it's not just the political arts, Sheila Garland, it's political science. To Pearl Wells, it's political science. It's political science, everybody. And there's a science to watching this. And we also need to understand just, my goodness, we're now seeing that Kamala Harris has stalled, according to the New York Times polls. And these polls are snapshots in time. You come out of the conventions, scaling the heights, and sometimes you can kind of get stuck. And so I want to know from John Nichols, who's been involved in presidential campaigns for more than 40 years. What should we be looking out for? What do you see? Because everyone's I think we should pay attention to every poll, right? I'm trying to pay attention to everything, John. I mean, I don't let it get me down, but I like to pay attention to everything. What do you expect to see at this debate? Do you expect former President Trump to, well, I mean, what do you expect to see? Because honestly, I don't know. I don't even know how one gets prepared for someone who will do anything.
Okay, look, because we only have about 3 or 4 minutes. I better
Okay, you got them.
Just to be very quick, I would say that in the debate, the key thing to look for and to be conscious of is Donald Trump's constant effort to destabilize his opponent by throwing out a lot of lies. And that's going to be a great challenge for Kamala Harris, but one that she's up to. And here's the bottom line. In the June 27th debate, Trump had a strategy, and that was to kind of just fill the room with half-truths, lies, accusations. It was such clutter. And because the moderators did not do any fact-checking, all of that pressure fell on Joe Biden. It clearly overwhelmed him. He did not handle himself well in the debate. He had a bad debate. And part of why it was a bad debate was because he was actually trying to respond to everything that was being thrown at him. For Kamala Harris, her key in this debate is to not respond to everything. If she does, she will let Trump define the debate. She knows that. She's a prosecutor. She's on top of these issues. So what you're going to see is her sometimes, just neglecting Trump, saying, okay, I hear what he's yelling over there, but here's what I need to say to you, the American people, about what I want to do as president, what I will do for you. This is a big deal because the New York Times poll that you were referencing showed that 28% of Americans said they wanted to know more about Kamala Harris, i.e., they didn't feel that they had sufficient knowledge of her. Only 9% of people say that about Donald Trump. So here's the bottom line. Kamala Harris has a huge space in which to communicate to the American people and give them more information about herself. Donald Trump is going to try and fill that space with garbage, frankly, with lies. There's no doubt about that. And so Harris's responsibility is to not let that happen, to fill the space with her own truth. And that will be very challenging. She may get some help, and I don't mean help like in a friendly benefit, but I mean may get some honest clarification from the moderators. They may, hopefully, at some point say, look, we need to follow up on that, Mr. Trump, because what you said wasn't true. That could cause the debate to be a little bit more stable, a little more functional. But if that doesn't happen, it still falls on Kamala Harris because this is her opportunity to introduce herself. It falls on her to make sure that she talks more about herself and more about what she wants to do rather than responding to Trump's, literally garbage. And this will be the measure of the debate. The fact is that Harris is going to, I think, do very, very well. And the reason she'll do very well is she is uniquely experienced for a debate setting of this sort. She's got her experience as a prosecuting attorney, as a state attorney general, as a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, as a former presidential candidate. I mean, she's highly prepared for this. And, I see some people saying, oh, I don't know, Trump has more experience in debates. Yeah, he's been in a lot of debates, but he's always been bullying people and always been playing games. My sense is that that's Harris's great strength. She knows about that. She knows how to cut through it. And her challenge is to do just that.
So what do you think we should be looking for? Because everyone's going to come away as soon as the debate is over with their grades.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. The grades are always wrong, by the way. They're always wrong. The pundits do, right? I can promise you that, because I have covered hundreds of debates. And after the debate is done, the pundits always say, oh, well, this person won because, remember in minute 38, where there was a glance to the left and this person glanced to the right. And that was a real strategic, smart move. And no one in America was watching or caring about that. That's insider stuff. What you find out about debates, who won or lost, comes a day or so after. And that's the point where, you have some polling, you have some focus groups, and they tell you often that people are listening for something very different than the pundits. This is one of the ways we understand this, is that in virtually every debate that Bernie Sanders was in, the pundits all said Bernie Sanders lost, or he wasn't on his game, he didn't make his mark, or something like that. And then when they got the polls back, when they got the focus groups back, everybody said Sanders won. Why? It wasn't because Sanders was necessarily a perfect debater. It wasn't because he, said the exact right thing at the exact right moment. It's because people came away with an impression of him. They said, oh, okay, I get that guy. He doesn't like corporations. He wants to give me health care. He's willing to bring up Palestine. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that makes him different. I like that. For Harris, that's what she needs to be going for. She needs to be going for that impression from the great mass of people that will be tuning in. This is going to be a very highly watched debate, one of the highest viewerships probably in history. And her job, again, is to be talking directly to people, not spending a lot of time talking to Trump. And this is challenging because she's a responsible person. She does like to do that back and forth. She likes to, debate. She's open to that. But in this case, she has to remember who the real consumers of this debate are. It's not Donald Trump. It's not the pundits. It's the voters. 28% of those voters say they want to know more about her. She should tell them more. And frankly, I think I would argue, should talk a lot about economics. She should make it very, very clear that she is the candidate who is running against price gouging by corporations. She is the candidate that wants to take on, some of this real damage to people. And that's something Trump can't do. In fact, he and his allies called, battling price gouging something that Richard Nixon did. They call that communism, right? They have all sorts of attacks they make on that. It's not. It's standard regulation of business, something that Woodrow Wilson did and Franklin Roosevelt did and Dwight Eisenhower did and Lyndon Johnson did and Richard Nixon did and Gerald Ford did. Even Ronald Reagan did it. And Kamala Harris should be very, very comfortable saying, I'm ready to do the same. And she's got a little extra something on her side. Polling shows that roughly 80% of people want their president to go after price gouging corporations. She's got the winning hand here. She should play it.
Yeah, I mean, especially with what's happening with Kroger and Albertsons. I mean,
absolutely.
This is made for her, and I don't know why the right of the Democratic Party. Well, I get it. They're corporatists.
The donors are pressuring Kamala Harris to run a campaign that is narrowly defined to satisfy them. If she listens to them, she will lose. Simple as that. If she doesn't listen to them, and if she sticks to her own premises, her own understandings, I've interviewed her a number of times. I don't claim to know her incredibly well, but I know her well enough to be conscious of I think where she's coming from on a lot of these issues. if she sticks to that and lets the donors go mumble over in the corner, she'll do very, very well. But that's really critical because this is what the donors do in every election cycle. They come at the Democratic candidate and they say, hey, we're giving you a lot of money. We really want you to abandon this premise or abandon that principle. Bill Clinton did it, right? He abandoned unions on NAFTA and a lot of other issues. Hillary Clinton did it sometimes on some issues. And that really came back to bite him. That became a very damaging aspect of those campaigns. Didn't mean that Hillary Clinton wasn't better than Donald Trump. She was dramatically better than Donald Trump. But the fact of the matter is that there are tripwires. There are key points that if you listen too much to the donor class, you will end up muffling your message, weakening your message. That is not what the American people are looking for right now. What they're looking for is Kamala Harris to be Kamala Harris. And anybody who isn't telling her to be who she is and to show that great strength you saw in the convention speech, in those first speeches after she was tapped to be the nominee. I mean, when she gets up there and talks about prosecuting Donald Trump, right, a lot of people think that's only about the court cases that have already been fought. No, that is about his policies. And she needs to prosecute Donald Trump on his policies as regards corporate power, tax issues, a host of other issues. If she does it, I think she'll have a very successful debate. It's always going to be frustrating because these debates are horribly organized, horribly managed. They're always a mess because the moderators don't do a good job. That's the bottom line. It's been the case for a very long time. But that's just the reality of the cards you've been dealt, right? You don't get to say, wow, I really wish the debate was run on a better set of standards. You got to master it as it's handed to you. Joe Biden did not master it. He didn't control it on June 27th. It was very damaging to him. He is no longer the nominee or the prospective nominee of the Democratic Party. Kamala Harris now faces a similar challenge. I think she's up to it. In fact, I think she'll actually do very, very well at it. But that's what we have to understand. This is going to be a messy debate. It's going to be difficult. At the end of the day, she needs to be so clearly focused on communicating to the American people, not worrying about what the pundits will say, and certainly not worrying about what the donor class will say. If she does that well, two things will happen. Number one, she will win the debate. Number two, you will suddenly hear Trump saying he wants a whole bunch more debates. Because that's the reality is whoever doesn't do well in this debate is going to suddenly realize they want more of them.
Don't you think we deserve more than?
Don't
we deserve more than one?
We deserve a debate. We deserve a debate at least once a week through now. It is absolutely absurd, and it's actually obscene. We live in a country where we have an excess of money in politics, and we have a lack of actual debates. This is one of the worst organized political systems in the world, not in the small d democratic world. If you were trying to do something like this in France or in Germany or in Canada, and you say, well, we're going to have one debate and it's going to be, this absurd constraint thing. No, it would be, you'd be laughed out of the room. You'd be considered ridiculous. And yet in the United States, we have allowed money to so dominate our political campaigns that we don't think it's absurd to see 1,000 campaign ads, but somehow we think it's challenging to have more than one debate. It's not challenging to have more than one debate. There should be many, many debates, and they should be focused, not these broad sweep debates where you take up 10 issues, 20 issues. They should be focused debates. There should be a debate on the economy. There should be a debate on racial justice. There should be a debate on war and peace. There should be a debate on democracy and what you would do to shore up and sustain democracy. These are basic premises. We should even have a debate on rural policy because you know what never comes up in debates? Rural policy. Mm-hmm. Even though diverse and broad cross-section of America lives in rural parts of this country, from Mississippi to Wyoming to rural Wisconsin, and yet that is always neglected in the debates. So yeah, should we have more debates? Yeah, about a dozen of them.
Yeah, I mean, because isn't as you go, the Department of Agriculture is responsible for every city or township that has a population of a half a million or less or fewer.
Yeah,
That's most of America.
well, and you know that it's roughly a quarter of Black Americans live in rural areas. Very near, roughly a majority of Native Americans live in rural areas. The boom areas for our Latinx and Asian American population is rural, not urban. The fact of the matter is, if you look at the reality of America, we have this great portion of America that is highly neglected by our political class. It is obscene, the level of neglect, and frankly, let's be very, very clear, that falls on the moderators of debates, that falls on the networks that organize debates. They are shameful, they are neglectful, they are irresponsible. Unfortunately, they're the people that have the concession at this point, and so we live with it.
John Nichols, The Nation magazine. My apologies, and I thank you for
Yep.
staying with us extra minutes so that we
Yep.
can know exactly what we're looking at. Because honestly, I don't know what to expect.
Well,
And
my apologies for I understand tech problems all the time. My apologies for taking a lot of time here because you have wonderful additional guests who are going to throw in and offer
John Nichols,
so much
stop.
more insight.
I want you here. I want
Yeah.
David Gibbs here. I want Dr. LaShawn Latrice here. I
You
want
got brilliant
Charlotte
people here.
I want Will. I want everybody here because everybody's offering a slice of the American thought.
Mhm.
And
Unfortunately, I have to leave.
but I'm sending you much love.
I send love to you folks, and I only wish I could stay on to hear what all the other brilliant folks have to say.
Don't worry, you know I'm gonna grab you back.
Okay, take care.
God bless.
Be strong.
Be strong, and God bless you.
And blessings to you as well.
Thank you. All right, everybody, let's get to it. This debate. Well, I'm just gonna go around this way. It's all right, John. If you want me to, I'll take you out. I'll remove you from the stage. There you go. Bless his heart. Let me start with Chaparral. Open up your mic. What are you looking for? Yvonne says it's a great looking panel. You're right, girl. Yes.
Santita, thank you so much for having me on today. And I'm actually looking for what most people are probably not, actually some policy. I'm looking for what they are going to be talking about. I think it's going to be more like a tit for tat, a high school match and debate, as opposed to a debate based on substance. And I'm hoping that they will get in the weeds and figure out what it is that we have a lot of things going on in America. I don't even really care too much. I mean, besides Gaza, I really don't care about a lot of international things because I see that we have a lot of issues that are going on in America that needs to be addressed. We have the rise in inflation. We have a major housing crisis. We have domestic violence. When we're talking about school shootings, urban policing. We have all these police states all around America. So we have a lot of problems here. We have lack of employment. Even though they talk about, we have the lowest employment ever. I'm like, well, people can have jobs, but that doesn't mean that they're living. They could be working every day, but it doesn't mean it's a livable wage. It doesn't mean that they could afford, health insurance. It doesn't mean that they could afford food. So we have a lot of insecurities that are happening here in America that I think that both candidates needs to address. But I think it's going to be basically a shouting match between the two candidates, and we're going to have 90 minutes of fluff. And I'm hoping that the moderators will actually get into the weeds and actually talk about the things that are very substantive. And these are things that we need to have addressed in this country because that's why I'm voting for you. I want to see what you're going to do for me. I don't want to be sitting here listening to you talk about your golf scores and who has the better swing, or if Kamala is black or Indian. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear what are you going to do to make my life as an American better. And if you can't get on the TV and tell me that, then you need to not be on the TV. And the thing is that I get most frustrated, me personally, with the moderators because they're not holding them accountable. They're not asking the tough questions. I think that this, being president of the United States is the greatest job in the world. But so that means that we should be asking the tough questions. They know exactly what we need here in America. And you're sitting here and you're sitting up here asking these softball questions that they have already pre-rehearsed the answers to, and we're not getting into what the needs of the people and what people are demanding. I think that Kamala will need to address the voters in Michigan. I think she's going to have to address this Palestinian issue. She will have to do that. But I also think that we have to not only just hold Kamala accountable for this debate, but we actually have to ask Trump, what in the hell are you going to do? We saw what Trump did in the 4 years that he was president. We need to ask, what is his plan? He has not put forth a plan, any type of agenda, no kind of speech on public policy. And we are allowing him to run for president of the United States without asking him any tough questions. I hope all of that ends today, but I'm not very optimistic, Santita.
Ooh, we. Well, now there we have it. And your amen corner is that you're flanked by Sheila Garland from the Poor People's Campaign of Illinois. But you know what? I bet you, soup to nuts. Come on, anyone want to take me up on it? How many people are going to think they're going to talk about poverty? Okay.
Okay, Santita, you got my number.
Okay.
But it's rarely discussed, and
That's
I'm
my number.
Of
See, my parents were poor.
I know. I'm just saying you got my number. But I'm just saying that I really appreciate what Chappelle was saying. Because really the debates are performative. And I think that's what most people are saying. It's performative, but the substance of what people in this country want to actually hear and go into is probably not going to happen, because the issue of poverty is not going to come up. I'm concerned, when Shapiro talks about what kind of the international scene. You go back to the DNC, they had Leon Panetta, who comes directly from the Council on Foreign Relations,
CIA,
at the Democratic Convention. That last day was all about war and the power of the United States and how we're going to kick A all around the world. And it frightened me, quite frankly, because if you put on top of that the fact that we're probably getting into an economic crisis and we're going to be looking at austerity. And so I think that, what's coming to us is on the horizon, but we're not really prepared. We're thinking that these elections are going to somehow shift. And I think there are some policies, if you do shift money away from the rich and the corporations into the hands of the 140 million poor and low-income people in this country, we could really see some substantial changes in this country, even under the system of capitalism. But I think that the debates are performative. I would like to, quite frankly, sort of have an idea of what is each of the candidates going to do about Gaza. I mean, this is a genocide, and it cannot continue to go. And I think 800,000 uncommitted voters have said, y'all got to do better than this on both sides. The Arab American Women for Harris, they disbanded at the DNC convention because she refused to address the issue of Gaza. This is serious. 800,000 votes could win or lose the election for her. This is not a joke. These are people's lives. And so the frivolity with which some of these debates get put together, and the lack of depth and sincerity is an insult to the people of this country. We need real substantive discussions about where this country is going to land and the people in it. And there is some excitement. That's certainly true. I'm not taking that away. And so I think Harris has the ability or has the opportunity to sort of ride on some of that excitement. Low and poor income voters are beginning to say, hey, I'm looking at Harris, because they weren't going to vote. So she's getting a little uptick in people with income $20,000 a year or less. This is significant. And at the same time, the Poor People's Campaign, we are reaching out to 15 million poor and low-income voters who constitute 80 million people that are registered to vote in this country. That's a significant voting block. And so those kind of numbers can make a difference. And I just wanted to say one other thing, because I know there are other people that want to talk. But, as we were listening to the Democratic National Convention and some of the things, and this whole slavish, preoccupation with the middle class, and we're going to make sure you can buy a house if you work hard. And my partner said to me, how much harder do poor people have to work? We got 2, 3, 4 jobs, and we can't even afford to pay rent. How much harder do we have to work to be able to afford a house? So he said to me, you're not talking to poor and low income people, because no matter how hard we work, buying a home is out of our reach. So who indeed are you talking to? And I think, if poor and low income voters are going to participate in these elections, there's got to be something that's said to us, and that says that we are significant, and policies like the tax credit, the child tax credit is important. But universal health care, there are so many people that are just going under from a healthcare debt. So there are a lot of things that she could say, that she could pivot, like John was saying. Okay, they ask you a question, but you can also pivot. You can, talk about what really matters, because I don't think the moderators, they're not going to ask those questions.
And the donors don't want her to pivot.
They don't want her to pivot.
And David Gibbs, one of the things Sheila Garland, Shapiro Wells, Dr. LaShawn Latrice, Ariel Gold, the quiet part has been said out loud. Oh, the funders run the place. Oops, did I say that? David Gibbs. Let's be honest. Because I love Kamala Harris. I do. And I support her. I've been very frank with you all. I said, look, I have known her more than 40 years. I went to school with her. And so that is that. But I'm not going to be an uncritical supporter of anyone. I'm not going to do that because that's not helping her. And more than that, it's not helping the rest of us. I need a pivot on Gaza. I need you to talk to me about poverty. There's some basic needs that we have got. I need you to talk to me about matters of war and peace. This war budget is out of control. I need you to stop letting these countries to tell me to go to hell on my money. Yeah, I said it. David Gibbs, this is like, we're like the whipping. We whip people around the world, but we are getting kicked in the teeth on some basic things, and Americans feel it. And now they're saying, oh my goodness, we're going to have chaos. No, you all are planning for this. Because if you had a system, Ariel, that had integrity, my father said, because he had everybody play sports. I didn't play sports. I played tennis. Okay. I wasn't going to do team sports. I wasn't it. My mother's like, what do you want to give her, football cleats? No. But he said, there's some basic things that you learn when you play a sport. He said, so I want you to find one. So I found one. He said, you got to come back from defeat. He said, now I don't want you to get used to losing, but I want you to, if you lose and it's fair, lose with grace, go and practice so you don't lose the next time. Don't get used to it now. So I can live with that. The problem that I've got right now, David Gibbs, is that I'm looking at the moderators. I'm like, who are you? What is, it's not even a debate. What is this? Help me.
One of the things that I suppose that's been very striking about the Democratic Party that received, I think, too little notice is the extent to which it's sort of increasingly merging with the most militaristic wing of the Republican Party. A really striking development was the endorsement of Kamala Harris and Walz by Richard Cheney. Now, this is some time ago, and a lot of your viewers may not have been born yet or not remember this, but 20 years ago, Richard Cheney was regarded as a kind of vicious warmonger and killer who won the, quote unquote, won the 2000 election through completely illegitimate means through the Supreme Court. And he was vilified, in my view, quite rightly, the same way Trump is being vilified now. And yet all of that's forgotten. We've decided to kiss and make up. and now he's seen as some kind of a hero, or at least somebody we should embrace. I find this very disturbing. So there's the question of why is he endorsing Kamala Harris? I think part of it, was touched upon by a number of people, including yourself, Santita, that you had at the convention people openly talking about how Kamala Harris is going to be a very warlike figure. And if there's one thing you know about Richard Cheney, is he loves war. His daughter, Liz Cheney, is, forgive the phrase, she's, daddy's girl. I can't think of any other way to put it. And, this is...
And wait a minute, stop right there.
Please.
She voted with Trump 90% of the time.
Yeah, that's right.
And why are Democrats, number one, why is the Democratic Party comfortable for her? How did we become her pillow?
Well, it's a good question.
I'm just saying, wait a minute, Democrats. And then when you say you're going to honor Reverend Jackson at the Democratic Convention, oh yeah, I'm putting that out there for you all. I want you all to think. They didn't want us to take Reverend out there, his family. Okay, let Bernie Sanders do it. Because Bernie's our guy and Bernie's carrying the baton now. They said no, because he's not on message. Now, when we had the Progressive Democrats of America on here last week, and you were there, Ariel, because you're here every day. You weren't here, Sheila. You should have been here. They said, we are a direct outgrowth of the Jackson campaign. And so they said something that was very out of the Jackson campaign. Yeah, we support her. But we will also be in the streets the next day demonstrating. Not to take her out, to lift her up, and so we can express our positions, David Gibbs. The author of The Revolt of the Rich. I want you to get that book, The Revolt of the Rich. And everybody, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Like the show and share it. We're on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Like and share. Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia. I love you, girl. And the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. But like and share the show. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Like and share wherever you go. But David Gibbs, I'm trying to figure out how, because we continue to make Liz Cheney a heroine. Yeah. This woman is just mad because Trump took her family out. That's all. What Trump did was take out mainline Republicans, and she's upset about it. I'm sorry, y'all. Please. She did not wake up overnight and become a woman of peace, David Gibbs.
No, she did not.
Okay.
I think that part of it is that Trump is seen as just unreliable by the foreign policy establishment. He's seen as shaky in terms of his support for NATO, shaky in terms of his support for the Ukraine war. I think he's rock solid, honestly, in terms of backing the horrible things Israel's doing in Gaza. It's hard to see how he's going to vary his policy on that. But on other issues, he's seen as shaky. And I think that that's the principal reason you're getting a large segment of the Republican Party, at least at the elite level, are moving towards the Democrats. And you're getting people like Adam Schiff and Leanne Panetta openly invoking the name of the great President Ronald Reagan, who is now, I guess, a hero of the Democrats, it would seem. Ronald Reagan, really? Nobody's complaining about this, or not very much. And, I think foreign policy is going to be a very important issue in this campaign, in the sense that the first, it is very closely linked to our standard of living, and that basically one of the reasons we've had reduced standards of living for working people in the last 4 years. Well, there are a number of reasons. One of them is certainly the foreign policy crises, especially in Ukraine, which has raised the cost of food and raised the cost of fuel. And that's a significant factor in lowering living standards. Also, we spent, I believe, $200 billion about arming Ukraine with no end in sight, and vast sums of money also arming Israel in terms of killing people in Gaza, again, with no end in sight. And I might add, by the way, both those wars are going very badly just from a purely military standpoint. Yeah. Not only Israel, but also, if you read very carefully, there is no way Russia's not going to win this war. I think the foreign policy establishment knows that. And they're just trying to kick the can down the road, all right, at our expense. And, all of these things are affecting the public and are, I think this really deserves to be part of the debate here. Should we be spending so much money on furthering U.S. power overseas in these disastrous ways at the expense of living standards? I'd like to see that become a more focused issue in these debates, although probably won't. Unfortunately, Santita, I'm going to have to go now because
No. I want to thank you, because The Revolt of the Rich is the book that you need to get, and we will make it the bestseller, Sheila, that it ought to be.
thank
Because
you.
part of the reason that we are here is because the oligarchs revolted after we ended apartheid in America, after we got everybody the right to vote, after we opened up the borders to let people in fairly. On and on and on and on, you had the right wing, the corporatist revolt. And he talks about that. He writes about that beautifully, elegantly in his book, The Revolt of the Rich. Go get it, everybody. Sending you so much love. Look out for that text from me tomorrow. Ooh, ooh.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Much love and many blessings. Okay, Ariel, the amen chorus, because you've been going, oh my goodness. Back and forth. We love our Ariel. But I mean, so what are you expecting to see? I mean, and you've made the point, Sheila, and I'd love for you to respond to this in part, Ariel. What people don't know about this uncommitted vote is that it happened on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
They got 101,000 votes in Michigan in 21 days. They were said, if we get 10,000, we're in the chips. No, they got 101,000 votes. Then all over the country, people were trying to figure out how to do uncommitted, and they couldn't figure it out. They just went on and voted, right? So there are more uncommitteds out here, Ariel, than they're saying. And the New York Times poll this morning did report that Vice President Harris has stalled. And I think it's stalled on Gaza. In Chicago, migration is a big thing. You know that, Sheila, Dr. Latrice, Chaparral Wells, that's a big, big deal. I keep trying to tell you all about this tent program for refugees and this game that's being played on us because they're bringing people, they're breaking their countries. They want Africa without Africans and Venezuela without Venezuelans so they can take the oil and the minerals and everything else. They want Gaza without the Gazans. Because this is about the money. We keep saying that we want to play kumbaya about religion and color and everything. Look, Ariel, we can look around this panel and see a lot of folks have had a lot of fun, and ain't nobody racially pure. Just stop it. Okay, it's just let that go. People have done that, so let's get over that. People have been fighting over resources. My mother sat with a globe with my brothers and I, because my sister was not yet born, and said, I want you to understand the world. I was about 10. She said, look at these continents, look at the water. Wars are fought over the water. They're fought over all of the minerals and all of the riches on these continents up under the ground. That's what this is all about. And I want you to understand that. And so that's what I'm seeing. And look, we're going broke, Ariel, paying for these wars. I mean, and I don't know I don't think they're, I mean, if kids are not eating and adults are not eating in the United States right now, they're having to choose. They can't get, I don't even know where to begin. Will we hear, what are you expecting to hear at this debate? What do you want, and what do you want to hear?
I don't think our debates these days are about the issues or about policy. I think they're entertainment these days. And I have to say that's the context in which I'm looking forward to it. I'm playing debate bingo, and I'm planning to see if she can zing him and pop him, but that's not policy, right? That's not that's an actual policy debate.
You're waiting for a zinger tomorrow.
Yes, I am. I'm on my bingo card. I don't expect to hear an actual debate. I don't expect to hear real facts and figures or a real discussion of policy. And I don't think that's what our debates are these days. And I don't think, other than like Biden failing at the debate, he didn't fail at debating on policy. He failed in cognitive abilities to show up at all. And that's a totally different thing.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, aside from that kind of thing, right? Like somebody just gets walked all the way over. It's like it's like a wrestling match that we're going to be watching. Aside from that, I don't think it affects the election. I think it's entertainment, and much of our elections right now are entertainment.
Okay.
You had it so right. It's about the money. It's about the money. There was another poll that came out today, a poll on Jewish voters, and showing that the Jewish vote has not changed since October 7th. Almost around 70% of Jews vote Democratic. Around 70% of Jews are still planning to vote Democratic. And in the list of priorities, Israel was listed as number 9 for Jews. It's all the way
Why?
down.
Why
Because
is that down?
real simple, Jews are Americans first. American Jews are Americans first, and we vote on domestic issues first and foremost. We care, and when you get into caring, like some of us care because we care that injustice is being perpetrated in our names. Some of us have attachments there for other reasons, but that's not how we vote. We vote on America. We do not vote for a foreign country. So that gets back to that, kind of issue there. But so that goes to say, if Kamala Harris comes out in support of conditioning weapons, in support of actually ending this genocide, she's not going to lose Jewish votes over that. But you know what she will lose? She will lose some donor money. And I think that's what she's afraid of there. And I worry it could cost her the election. So, and it also that poll as well saw that the vast majority of American Jews want to see a ceasefire. The hostage families are calling for ceasefire. This is a weapons donor class that want this war. This is not the people. But in many ways, the Democratic Party has become the party of the elites. We used to be the party of the working class, and we get called by the Republican Party the party of the elites. And in many ways, that's true. And so, of course, Liz Cheney's like, oh, my home moved from over there to over there, and that's a real mistake, if you ask me. And we have ceded that territory to the Republicans. We've ceded that territory to the far right. And we're trying to hold on to the union vote, but we've really, let a lot of that go and become a party of money and the elites. And we've ceded as well. The Republicans are the ones, at least in words, I wouldn't say in actions, but in words, championing as the anti-war party now. They want to end the forever wars, and the Democrats want to keep that money flowing for the war in Ukraine and on and on. And what a huge mistake, right? And we can't allow this to happen.
But it's true, and I'm fine. And you know what? I'm agnostic about the parties on this. I agree with the Republicans on this. I might not agree with why, what. I don't know. I just know, shut down all this funding, because this $20 billion that you snuck out of here the other week. Do you know some kids can eat on that? And their parents? I'm not just talking about children, you all. You can't love. All you have to do is look at what happened in Winder, Georgia, and see that you can't separate a child's welfare from the parents' welfare. The Gray family had been evicted. They're economically, socially, and spiritually insecure people. And look at what they produced. You know that, Dr. Latrice. When your mom and your daddy, your mama's a drug addict, your father and mother can't keep you in your home, it's going to leave you a little messed up. It's just we understand it when it happens to white people. And with Black kids, we just pathologize them, and brown kids. And we got to stop it, because we are producing a nation of sick people because they are insecure. Because we're making Raytheon and Boeing, which can't keep a plane up in the sky. Wait a minute. Honey, what about these astronauts? Are they ever going to get home? You can unmute yourselves. I'm like, they went up there.
It's insane. It's frightening.
These jokers I'm not going to get back for a year. And Boeing is still getting money, Ariel. Oh, yeah. And I bet you no one's going to ask him about Boeing. Ariel, do you think they're going to ask him about Boeing?
I don't think so. I
Wait a
think this is an entertainment show. I think that's what they ask him for, entertainment. And this is why the moderators don't really follow up on it. And there isn't fact checking in real time or anything like that. Because really, it's the World Wrestling Federation.
Girl, where is what
Political edition.
Mr. McMahon? Where is he? Where is he? Come on out here. Just put him in the ring. Put him in some skivvies and let him go for it. This is just as crazy. And nothing is getting answered. That's my issue. And nothing is getting asked because we don't examine the backgrounds of the moderators, which we should do. Like, I need to know who you are. Because everybody's got a point of view, Dr. Latrice. What do you want to hear in this debate? Oh, whatever.
What do I want to hear? Okay.
No, what do you need to hear? What do you think we're going to hear?
So what I need to hear? I need to hear some conversation, questions. Hopefully they've prepped the moderators and given them some of the key topics. I hope this isn't a comedy show. I hope it isn't something that turns out to be funny, because this is a very serious matter. Especially for the projection of where we're going in the world of politics. But I'm expecting to hear conversations about or questions that are pertaining to anything that we've talked about we have not heard at the DNC. So I'm looking for conversation on police reform, police accountability, criminal justice reform, anything that teeters along the lines of reparations. I feel like those conversations have distinctly been just not had at all. The migrant crisis. We need to talk about the funding that gets allocated to take care of those, because the corporations and the government has this hidden agenda. We need to talk about those things. We also need to know about what are the solid stances on the Gaza issue and the funding of wars. We don't need to hear people say, I support this, but then they don't do anything, or they only say it as a tagline. It seems like a lot of games are being played. And I think the show that we just witnessed with the DNC demonstrated a lot of it. I talked to many people. Many people could not tell if the DNC was meant to be somewhat of a concert, if they thought it was meant to be like a motivational thing, but they didn't look at it like it was a Democratic National Convention, like it was a place for issues to be talked about and things to be decided. It did not even come across like that. So I think it's time out for playing games, and I pray that this debate is one that is taken very seriously, because there are a large amount of uncommitted voters, a lot of people that I talk to that don't have a horse or a pony in the game. Mm-hmm. And they feel like right now it's so important that they can't just go and vote for someone just to stop the other person from being in office. We got to get past that. We got to get away from voting for people just because they look like us. We got to stop all of that. We need to vote for people who we can hold accountable, and those who we can come back and say, look, you said you were going to do this, and this is what we're expecting you. It's too many mothers out here losing their children. We don't even get any definitive results from anything like that. So that police reform is big. The police accountability, that criminal justice reform, none of that was talked about at the convention. So I'm hoping to see all of that. I am literally going to be praying that God allows some things to be opened up that we have not seen yet.
Well, mothers and fathers losing their children.
Absolutely.
Families are being broken apart. Right. Because a mama is not an amoeba who split and had this baby. She had to have a partner on that.
That's right.
We need to stop that.
Right.
So you know what? I literally have a couple of minutes left, and I want to get a minute. Well, actually, just under a minute from everybody, because Ashley King said, "Talk about Lost in Space." Boeing's problems, they're not funny. It's really a rueful laugh, Ashley, because you know what? I'm so glad that I'm not related to one of those astronauts. And you keep telling me, I'm like, how are you going to justify keeping them up there in 8 months? What is that about? And a huge source, a big chunk of Boeing's money comes from you and me. It's not funny. It's not. And they're not going to be called failures, but you are. They're too big to fail, but you're too small to save. And you ought to be tired of that. Yeah, Sheila, I said it. The corporations are too big to fail, but I am too small to save. I'm tired of that. You ought to be sick of it. I give someone 14 million votes, and then you come in and tell me that my vote doesn't matter because George Clooney wrote a letter? Oh, no, no, no. Love George Clooney. He's a lovely actor. Great. And I'm glad that he's close to everybody. That's wonderful. That has nothing. My vote is my vote is my vote. Now, either we have a democracy, which we don't. We have a constitutional republic that has democratic aspects. And if you don't believe it's a republic and you think it's a democracy, what about the Electoral College? The founding fathers thought they were afraid of mob rule, Ariel Gold. So they said, no, not a democracy, a republic, but we'll have some democratic breaks. So at least the people, because if the people want to be heard, yeah, but we've got to have some moderating voices and institutions. That's why the lower house is elected. If a congressperson is sick, dies, has to vacate the position, they got to be elected. The Senate, you get put in the position, you get selected. One is Democratic, one is Republican. That's the way the country works, everybody. And you ought to be asking questions. Got to be asking questions. If people are not answering your questions, they're disrespecting you. Sheila, 30 seconds for you.
Yes, Santita. I mean, I think you kind of put it in a nutshell. It's impossible to have democracy with the level of economic insecurity that exists in this country, as well as around the world with the growing poverty. Every single corner of the earth is impacted by the huge technological changes that are taking place that are impacting all of us. And so I think, like everybody is saying on this panel, that we've got to have some seriousness in these debates. But more than that, and this is why I'm such a strong member of the Poor People's Campaign, is that we got to bring ourselves together. We've got a monkey on our back. We got to figure out how to come together and get this monkey off of our collective backs. And it's not about, I agree with what the sister said, it's not about black or white. It's not about your identity, because we all know racial politics, identity politics is the ruling class game to guarantee that we stay and remain divided. So we got to see through the all of the vitriol and all of the stuff that's going to go on, and really ask ourselves, what is happening at this level, and what do we now do in order to guarantee and secure our future? Because we have a stake in our future because of our children and our grandchildren. There are 140 million poor and low-income people in this country. We have a basis to unite, and that is the growing poverty that all of us are facing. You think you're secure today, but it's a job loss, it's a sickness, it's a fire, it's one little thing that's going to drive you right down to where the rest of the 140 million people are living at or below poverty.
And that's way above 140 million.
Way
Americans are economically insecure. You have 6-figure earning people who are living paycheck to paycheck. Not because they're living over their means. It's because it costs too much to live here. I don't get it. Chapearl, 30 seconds for you. And I do mean 30, because we got to get out.
No problem, Santita. I just think that we have to probably email the moderators today. If everybody go and email the moderators and say, hey, we need you to ask these tough questions to the candidates. And so that way it won't be a whole 90 minutes of just fluff. And we have to demand, and we have to tweet in real time to let them know, hey, we need you to ask these substantive questions, because we need help here in America. And so we're looking forward to this debate tomorrow, but not for all the pomp and circumstances, but to the substance of what they're going to stand for and what they're going to do for the American people if elected. Thank you, Santita.
Mic drop on that, Dr. LaShawn Latrice.
Yes. In a nutshell, I agree. I think we should be able to email the moderators. I heard so many people impressed by the status of the elite people at the DNC. I want to turn that energy around, and I want to the people to become impressed with those things that they see that will better the community overall, impacting state to state to state, instead of getting influenced by celebrity voters, celebrity people who make appearances and stuff like that. I want that concept to be eliminated because I hate to be led astray by someone just because of their celebrity status. So I pray that we can really channel in on those things and get away from it, because it really is a disservice to us as American people and as Black people too.
Just period. Max Myrick in DC sending you much love. And Abraham in Venezuela sending you much love. Absolutely. Boom. Lisa said, yes, yes. Ariel Gold, you're closing us out.
I'll just pick up from there and say, you know, what was so incredible about Uncommitted is that it came from the grassroots. It really organized itself and made that happen. May we not have the celebrities and the elite. May we have more of that on more issues. May it, you know, pull forth for economic issues and for reparations and healthcare for all, ending the forever wars. And may Kamala Harris, I am way behind her. May she see that that is the winning ticket, and may she hang her hat on that.
And you know what? We've got to help her help us. You all, we're at the beginning of the process. She can be progressive all day long. By calling her progressive and poking at her being on the left, the right is trying to push her in Liz Cheney's direction. Liz Cheney, you're welcome to vote any way you want to. But sugar, this is what we stand for over here. I'm not conforming to you. You're going to conform to me, or you can leave. Form your own party. All those Republicans who were kicked out, because I know that's what you're upset about. Yeah, I said it. Now I'll add more to it before I take anything away. Because we saw Donald Trump sweep out the establishment Republicans. That's what happened. Bernie Sanders pretty much did the same thing. There's a real, live, progressive faction of the Democratic Party that is alive and real. It's a new day, everybody. Let's make an adjustment and let us go a new way. It's our country. We are patriots. No one was more patriotic than Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Fred Hampton or Rabbi Heschel. You just keep on going down the line. We got some patriots, and you have some patriots on the right too. I might not agree with their politics, but you know, at the end of the day, this is about us really moving toward that bright, shining star. We need to establish a democracy. We need to have a floor beneath which no human being should fall. We should have a country where everyone can actualize their God-given talents and gifts. That is what God intends for us to do. And let me tell you something. I believe in God, and I am unapologetic about it. And if you're an atheist or an agnostic, I ain't mad at you. I fight for your right to hold your position. But I want you to know that because of my beliefs, I believe that no one should starve. I believe that everyone should eat. I believe that everyone should have a decent place to live and a beautiful neighborhood. I believe that everybody, I don't think that anyone should be evicted. And I think that you should take care of the landlords too. If you can spend all this money on war, you can take care of people. You can't have corporations, Sheila, that are too big to fail, and I'm too small to succeed. That's not right. You can't have a world without people. You need me. We need each other. We need each other. Black, white, yellow, brown, all that. What did my father say? Red, yellow, black, brown, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. We're all God's children. So I'm not going to argue with you about your religion, about your orientation, about where you are in your mind. That is not my concern. My concern is that you be respected and that you respect me. Because I got a point of view too. Now let's go on and do what God told us to do. God didn't suggest, but commanded that we love each other. Let's do that. I don't have to like you, but I do have to love you. And if I love you, I'm going to make sure you eat. If I love you, Sheila, I'm going to make sure you have a place to live. If I love you, I'm going to make sure that you don't have a medical bill. If I love you, I'm going to show it. No more wars. That's right, Lisa. I'm tired of that. You have a baby, you want to send them off to get killed? Oh, no. Or to come home, not who you raised? them to be. That's not right. That's not right. Don't do that. And that's supporting the troops. You support the troops by keeping them alive. Deploy them on our streets, not to be my minder, but to keep us safe. There's enough work for them to do here. Come on, y'all. And make this corporate media responsible to you or put them out of business. Boom. I'm done with that. I love you.
Thanks,
See you.
Santita.
All right. Amen.
Thanks,
Amen.
everybody.
Santita Jackson Show. I love you.